Hey everybody, welcome back to Occupy Democrats. And a year ago, a lot of us, maybe around 70 million, sat in shock and awe as Donald Trump was reelected for a second time after a much-needed 4-year break from his first term. But one of the key players in this breaking story was a man named Joe Rogan, who I'm sure you know quite well, and his 50 million plus people per his podcast. And he was a guy who actually wound up saying something positive many times about Donald Trump, and at the very last minute actually endorsed him. Recently, Joe Rogan has been heard saying things like this.
The military in the street, I think, is a dangerous precedent. I definitely don't think that the government should be involved ever in dictating what a comedian can or cannot say. This storming into the fucking Home Depot and arresting people. No, that's not cool either. No. If you've been here for 25 years, you have a family, your kids go to school here, you speak the language, you're just illegal. But you're a contributing member to the community that up until now has been protected. This is crazy. You're about to ship them to a country where they've never been.
Yeah, it is crazy. And if you'd like to see Donald Trump out of the White House, just subscribe to the channel. But amazingly, just remember, this is what he said only days before the election when he endorsed him right here. Here's Joe Rogan's post on X, the great and powerful at Elon Musk. If it wasn't for him, we'd be screwed. He makes what I think is the most compelling case for Trump you'll hear, and I agree with him every step of the way. For the record, yes, that's an endorsement of Trump. Enjoy the podcast. Yet in this breaking story, as it is for a lot of Trumpers, one of the key elements that Rogan talked about was the Epstein files, like a lot of people, and recently said this.
Joe Rogan, big deal in the Trump echo chamber, big deal in the so-called manosphere on podcast land. And President Trump keeps telling people like Joe Rogan and others in the Trump movement, move on from Jeffrey Epstein. Joe Rogan will not move on.
When we thought Trump was going to come in and a lot of things were going to be resolved, we're going to drain the swamp, we're going to figure everything out. And when you have this one hardcore line in the sand that everybody had been talking about forever, and then they're trying to gaslight you on that.
And as it's going to be with Trump, what he recently said can be the nail in the coffin for people like Joe Rogan, because Joe Rogan is already on the edge of completely dismissing Donald Trump, as you can hear right here.
They're kicking students out that write articles they don't like.
Yeah, that's nuts.
Isn't a university supposed to be a place where someone's allowed to express themselves and have
non-violently?
Yeah. They're writing something down and they're not calling for violence either. Deporting people because you don't like who they're criticizing, that gets kind of shifty. You're not going to get any reasonable people to want to go along with that. Any kind person would look at that and go, this can't be the only way to do this. That shows no heart.
So in this breaking story, what did Rogan just state about Donald Trump? Yeah, it's related to his wackadoodle crazy comments about the death of Rob Reiner and his wife. And when you hear this from Joe Rogan, considering how many people he affects in terms of voting, it matters. Check out what he said right here. Breaking news, Rogan slams Trump over reaction to Rob Reiner killings, no justification for what he did. Joe Rogan was not impressed with Donald Trump's statement about the killings of filmmaker Rob Reiner and his wife, Michelle Singer. In a Friday episode of the Joe Rogan Experience, Rogan, joined by fellow comedian Shane Gillis, was full of criticism for Trump. Rogan mocked Trump's plaques hanging in the White House, trolling past presidents, calling it crazy and something you shouldn't be allowed to do. Rogan also pointed to Trump's reaction to Reiner's killing as another example of his trolling gone wrong. In quotes, the Rob Reiner thing is not funny, right? And that's like the same thing. It's the same kind of thinking. And when you see it with no empathy, that's when it's hard to like him, he said. I wish he could apologize. I know he can't. He won't, Gillis added. Reiner and his wife were killed in their home earlier this month. Their son, Nick Reiner, has been charged with the killing. Rogan argued Trump's statement was the same as people on the left celebrating September assassination of conservative activist Charlie Kirk. In quotes, listen, there's no justification for what he did that makes any sense in a compassionate society. It's no different than people that were celebrating Charlie Kirk got shot. It's the same kind of thing, he said. In a Truth Social post just a day after the news of Reiner's killing, Trump blamed it on Trump derangement syndrome, as Reiner was a vocal critic of the president. Trump wrote this. A very sad thing happened last night in Hollywood. Rob Reiner, a tortured and struggling but once very talented movie director and comedy star, has passed away together with his wife Michelle, reportedly due to the anger he caused Others through his massive, unyielding, and incurable affliction with a mind-crippling disease known as, in all quotes, Trump derangement syndrome, sometimes referred to as TDS. He was known to have driven people crazy by his raging obsession of President Donald J. Trump and his obvious paranoia reaching new heights as the Trump administration surpassed all goals and expectations of greatness, and with the golden age of America upon us, perhaps like never before. May Rob and Michelle rest in peace. The statement faced bipartisan backlash, but Rogan and Gillis agreed that someone like former President Barack Obama sending out a similar message would receive far more pushback. In quotes, "That would be crazy," Rogan said. "It just shows how crazy it is the way Trump thinks and talks." Like it or not, regardless of your age, podcasters and individual voices now rule more in this country than even some of the mainstream media does, and even some of the voices there. And Joe Rogan has a large platform, and people listen to him. And when Joe Rogan gets disgusted by the behavior and the thoughts that you have, it is not helpful to what you want to do in the midterms. And this is a crucial voting bloc that listens to Joe Rogan. So when he makes commentary like this, it is absolutely key to the future of both this country and also the midterm elections. You guys like and share the video, and stay frosty.